Hey travelers, today I am going to tell you my 3 top money saving tips when it comes to planning a trip. Not only do I love saving money personally, but I love saving my clients money on their trip. It makes my day whenever I see my clients' faces light up because they see how much money I help them save. Before we get into this video, don't forget to give it a like and leave a comment down below of where you'd like to travel to next. Just to get it out of the way, travel does not have to be expensive. And before you say, well, if you travel cheap, you'll have a cheap experience and then you're not gonna like it and then it's just money wasted. And yes, I've had people say that to me before. They're wrong. There are so many ways to find insane deals and have luxurious yet affordable travel experiences. Starting with my favorite money saving tip, which is actually super simple, is to have a budget and to also prioritize your budget. Once you establish your budget, stick to it and prioritize it. Make sure you're accounting for all of your expenses on your trip in order to have an effective budget, then prioritize what you want to spend your budget on. I love spending as little money as possible on flights. Not only do I hate flying, and yes, I know that's ironic, but I also don't want to blow my budget before I even get to my destination. I literally stalk flight prices to get the cheapest flights, but there's other ways to cut costs on flights. Some of the additional ways that I save money on flights are by not checking bags, not paying for my seats, definitely not purchasing on-flight Wi-Fi, and not purchasing the food on board either. Whenever we get to the gate, we always talk to the boarding staff. They always just put us next to each other, even without any payment for our seat. Of course, always be nice to the staff and don't be demanding. We always just go up and ask to make sure that our seats are next to each other. Also, a great way to not be tempted to purchase in-flight Wi-Fi is to download some music or maybe a podcast, like my podcast, Life's a Voyage, so that you can listen to it without Wi-Fi during your flight. Cutting all these unnecessary in-flight costs allowed me to spend my money where I'd prefer to spend it. And to me, that's on the Airbnb with the hot tub compared to the Airbnb without the hot tub, and maybe an extra dinner or two out at a fancy restaurant. Once you've prioritized your budget and you know what you want to spend your money on, then be flexible. I know not everyone has the luxury to be super flexible with their trip dates, maybe because of their work schedule or other responsibilities, but one of the easiest ways to save money is to just be flexible with when you're going. If you can book your trip during weekdays instead of on weekends and during the off season instead of peak season, then you'll be able to save money on flights and lodging without really doing anything. You'll see the highest prices during holidays, on the weekends, and during peak seasons. If you avoid booking your trip during those times, it gives you the potential to save hundreds of dollars on your trip. And to go along with that, be flexible with when you're booking flights during the day. I find that overnight flights are the cheapest, and they're actually my favorite flights because, again, I hate flying, so I'd rather be asleep. It sounds counterintuitive, but the less convenient the time of day you're traveling or the time of year you're traveling is, the cheaper it's going to be. So if you can sacrifice a little bit of convenience, your wallet will thank you later. Also be flexible when booking your experiences. A lot of places will have different rates for weekends and for weekdays, just like Airbnbs. It may seem like weekend prices aren't that much higher, but you'd be surprised to see how much they can add up when comparing a weekend trip to the same trip taken during the week. So overall, be very flexible with your bigger expenses like your flights, lodging, and any experiences you're doing, and then fit everything else around that. And my last tip is super quick and easy, and it's to just plan out your meals on your trip. And this might take a little bit more work than some people are willing to do. That's why you can hire me to do it for you. Was that subtle? And I don't just mean plan out when you're gonna eat, but also where you're gonna eat. Doing this before your trip is gonna help you save money and time. I'm a huge advocate for hour-by-hour itineraries on trip, but don't just pencil in lunch. Pencil in where you're gonna get lunch and how many money signs it has on Google. I like to keep my breakfast and lunch 1 to 2 money signs, and I like to save my 3+ money signs for dinners. The reason I do this is because breakfast and lunch are typically pretty similar everywhere you go, and that's very loose, don't hold me to that, but breakfast is usually eggs, and eggs are eggs, right? Like you don't wanna spend a ton on eggs. And on the other hand, I really like to jam-pack my schedules throughout the day so that I'm making the most of my time on my trip. And this usually means breakfast and lunch on the go. And usually if I'm taking something on the go, I don't want to spend a ton of money on it. Dinner becomes almost like a reward after a really long day of running around a new city or going on a ton of hikes, and you sit down to a really good dinner and you just get to enjoy it. This is totally my personal preference, but I think it's very important to be aware of where you would like to eat. Also, if you have any dietary restrictions, this is super important. And be aware of how many money signs is next to the restaurant before you sit down at the table. Those are my top 3 money saving tips when it comes to trip planning. I hope you guys can find them useful and let me know below how they helped you out. You can find me on all my socials below, and if you really need help planning your next trip, you can also hire me to do that for you. Thanks for watching.